it's got to be casual with making music. It's got to flow good. It can't be so business that you forget that it's fun. It's fun to make music. It's you got to like reach in that kid inside of you, and keep it and embrace it almost. Because if not, nothing cool is going to come out, because music isn't forced. It flows. And if it doesn't flow, then it's not going to come out good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Story Building, where the storytellings happen from the storytellers themselves. Today's guest is music producer, singer, and glitch hoppist. It's DHeusta. Is that how it's pronounced? DHeusta?
It's close. DHeusta.
Hue, like
Hue.
color. Heusta.
Yes.
What is that name? Why is it that?
So it's inspired actually by quite a few things. One, my name Dallin, for D, and then the H is my last name as well. But also my dad, his gamer name was Heuster growing up when I was playing with him. And so I wanted to bring him along the journey. And so I changed it to Heusta instead of Heuster. And that's the name.
Your dad is a gamer. What did you play with him? Yeah.
We would play just classic games together. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Tribes. Super old one. Very old one actually. We'd play the first Call of Duty that came out on PC called United Offensive. We'd play Flat Out. We'd play so many other games together.
So getting to you and your music and your online life, I noticed that in the description of at least all of your recent videos, you describe yourself as an upcoming electronic-inspired music producer, creating original tracks and remixing video games and TV shows from horror to action and more. So what makes you upcoming, and when will you not be upcoming? What has to happen for you to not be upcoming anymore?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like once I hit, I don't know. I just feel like once I hit a spot where I'm like, yeah, my name is known, then I won't consider myself up and coming or upcoming. And I don't know when that would be, but it'll be at some point.
Or just try and stay humble the whole time. Just say that you're upcoming, no matter what. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there eventually. I mean, you've got over 100,000 YouTube subscribers. You've been on a physical tour. Is that not good enough for you?
No, no, it is good. I don't ever want it to, I don't know, to get to me. Charlie's been a big inspiration for me with that. And also recently, Johnny Depp, actually, I realized that, or figured out that he doesn't watch his own films usually. And I was like, oh, I wonder like how much that helps so it doesn't get to your head, and that you keep on pushing and pursuing what you love without the, oh, I did so good, so now I'm at a plateau and I've accomplished what I need to. And I recently, money, finance wise, I've gotten to a point where it's like, oh, I've met my goals. And it was so funny, like my motivation just it stopped growing. And I was like, whoa, no, stop. Like there's other things you gotta dream bigger goals here. So I would say to anybody that has goals or dreams, like dream big. Because once you hit a small dream, like it's going to be difficult to like find more motivation to get past that.
Well, so when were you starting out? When you were starting out, what was the dream? What was the goal?
Honestly, the dream was to live in my own house, or to live in a with this turning into a full-time career. It was like, oh, I'd love to be able to have my own space, to make my own music, and to have my own car, a nice car, and live comfortably financially in that sense. And I'm there now. And so which I'm so blessed. I wouldn't be here without my fans and the support and love that they give with all my music. And I really appreciate them for that. So anyway, when I got that, it was like, I noticed my almost being content. And that's bad. That's not good. Because then there's no want to improve or get better or something. And so I had to recognize, Dallin, like, no, you gotta keep going, man. And and the main motivation wasn't finances. It really was to improve on music and get better and be able to portray my feelings through music. And that's why this album is so important to me, because it is all of my emotions wrapped up in a few songs.
You mentioned Charlie earlier, who is the artist currently known as CJ5. And while looking into you, I realized that you and him are actually kind of close and have had quite the history. Now, I know the history, but can you just explain your journey with him and with yourself to making music right now?
Yeah. So we met in high school, actually, for the first time. And funny enough, we were both trying to get big on YouTube and SoundCloud. And at the time I had more SoundCloud followers than he did. And so he would turn to me for help on like how to get more followers or things like that. And I think he was a freshman and I was a junior at the time, or a senior. Yeah, I think I was a junior. How old is he? Oh, maybe I was a senior. Ah, man, I don't remember. Anyway, I was in one of those stages and we met up, and he is probably one of the most awkward kids you'll ever meet in high school. Like, and he knows it. He knows he was, and he was so full of himself. It's so funny. You can ask him about it and he'll totally agree. But, and that's what's so cool, little side note, to see when I see him now compared to who he was in high school. It's like, dude, you have matured more so than I ever thought you would, really. And it's super cool to see him go through that process of maturity. But anyways, so back to high school, we tried to collaborate and make songs together, and we made one song together, and it was fine. It's cool. I don't remember. I think he still has it on his computer. But we never did anything with it and left it at that. we were kind of friends, not super close, but close enough to have each other's numbers, and that was it. So then I went on my mission. So I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for 2 years, and I got called to Argentina. So I am bilingual. I speak fluent Spanish, Castellano, they call it down there. And anyway, when I came back from that 2-year mission in 2016, I met up with Charlie, or I saw his stuff on Facebook. He was posting things videos that he was doing, FNAF videos that were blowing up and doing really well. And at the time, I think he had 60,000 subs. And so I called him up and we were both like, dude, whoa, like it's been so long. How's it going? And I was calling him like, whoa, it's so cool to see you blowing up. Like we've been talking about for so long. How'd you do it? How'd you get here? And then he says, dude, if you want, like you can totally come over and watch me how I make this stuff and have better quality music to that standard. And just get better from there, kind of like an internship almost, what I like to call it. And so I did. I went over there for quite a while to kind of like study his habits and techniques and things that I was missing, which was so kind of him. And it's like he wanted me to like be a part of that community with him and that joy with him. So cool. And that, a side note, that's when somebody is like just a true, genuine friend. They don't want to pull you down. They want to build you up, and they'll do whatever it takes to build you up with them rather than dragging you down. And Charlie did just that. He built me up so much. And anyway, and now we've just kind of networked. He's given me, helped me to make friends with his friends and meet more people in the community and just kind of be familiar with this nerdcore community. So
yeah, nerdcore. I've only just now just heard that phrase. What is it? What is nerdcore?
Oh, it really is. It's whatever, you'd consider nerdy, whether it's anime or comics or video games or movies, memes even. It's fan songs about those things. That's all it is.
Yeah, that seems to have really exploded after like 2014 when Five Nights at Freddy's came out. There was just so much stuff about this, so many fan things about those games. But you were, as you said, in Argentina for 2 years, so you were away from that for quite a while. When you came back in like 2017, 2018, how was it to get into it, like get back into it, get into nerdcore?
It was honestly, I'll be upfront and honest, it was kind of frustrating to come back and be like, man, I served this mission to spread the good news, and I come back and I missed out on an awesome opportunity that I could have joined in with Charlie and kind of done with him. We could have progressed together at the same time. Undertale as well was one of those that just blew up like crazy for people and kind of started their careers. But I think, I do believe coincidences are not coincidences. They are a coincidence. Really is what do you call it? Divine timing almost. And there's a wise purpose that I'm still not sure why I missed out on that, but there was a reason.
Yeah, when you describe the way that you got into making music when you were in high school, when you were doing stuff with Charlie, it actually sounds honestly quite standard, quite a standard path for you to be where you are now, because you were in school, you worked with programs, you worked with people, and then you just kept on going until eventually, when YouTube was around, you started to be able to monetize it online. It's actually quite a normal way of going about it. So when you were in school, when you were first testing this stuff out, what programs were you using to make music?
So that is a very, very good question. I started this whole music stuff as a hobby. My mom helped me learn my love for the piano, taught me the basics, and then I was kind of self-taught from there when I was probably 8. And then at around 9 or 10, my dad noticed that I loved techno music, and so he he got me a free version of Ableton Live, the old, Ableton Live 8 back then, which is a DAW, and
a digital audio workstation.
Yes, digital audio
workstation. Yeah, for the layman
viewers. Yes. And there are, lucky for me, very fortunate, I grew up using that for so long that it would have been hard for me to switch out to a different DAW, maybe a standard DAW. But what's crazy is Ableton, is it Logic Pro, FL Studio, and I think Studio One now, are all like the standard DAWs to use for music producers. And it's so cool that my dad was inspired to give me that program since I was a kid to be familiar with, that I didn't have to get familiar with a different DAW. So I always found that very interesting.
In your experience working with all the DAWs, how do you put forward vibes and emotions and feelings without lyrics by just using instrumental electronic beeps and boops?
Oh, well, that's cool. Okay. I love how you say without lyrics, because that's how I started. That's everything I
Yes,
did was just
your first video on your YouTube channel is instrumental. It doesn't have singing in it, and I was like, interesting. Yeah, you have to put forward a feeling by just music.
yep. Yeah, if you listen when this album releases, if you listen to the instrumental and try to not listen to the lyrics or the vocals, you'll notice like the instrumental itself tells a story without the vocals, because that's how I first started writing. Um, and what's cool, it's kind of like, I almost want to say it's like how, I don't know if you've heard of if you ask a blind person how they see, they say they see with colors, a lot of the time, and they see very bright colors, or different things give them different colors. Um, and I feel like in my head, for a lot of music producers, we feel or reflect what we're feeling through sounds, and say we're mad. There's a sound going on in our heads, at least in my head, that is giving off an angry vibe, whether it's a low brass, like a nasty low brass, or maybe I'm really happy and I have just a soft violin string ensemble or something, or depressed, sad jazz chords on a piano. It just depends. And so, or I remember growing up, I used to beatbox for fun. That's how my name got known throughout high school, as my beatboxing talent shows and whatnot that I did. But I would love to create like a rhythm for each person I passed by in my head that kind of portrayed their theme. And I thought it was so cool just by the way they walked or talked or something. And so I'd always say, yeah, everybody has like a theme of their own that they just got to embrace. So
when you're putting instrumental plugins into your DAW, aren't you afraid that you're going to put in an instrument that is prominent in one of your songs, but then someone else is going to put the same exact plugin into one of their songs, and then people are going to think that's the same instrument from that, and they're going to get all like muddy and mesh together and not come off as unique because they're all using plugins, right?
Yep. Yeah. So that is a very good question. What's cool is with the DAWs, you can do so many like complex things that you want to, as a music producer, like stand out. So for example, a lot of people use samples. They're just audio files of a sampled noise. Say somebody burps, like I just did. And they can sample that and mess around with it and turn it into like maybe a kick or a bass note or something. And so you can really do whatever you want. And so what I like to do is mix things enough so it's different from somebody else's if they do use that same plugin sound, so that it sounds like my own.
And you've remixed many songs. One that stands out in particular is Oreo's "Help Me," which you did a remix of, which was so different to the original one. But how do you go about remixing something that already exists? What exactly are you remixing?
So Charlie said it the best, I feel like, from all the definitions I've heard. But I love when you think of remixing, it's like, I hear a song and I see how it sounds and I listen to the lyrics. Then I'm like, man, I feel like I could portray something different with these lyrics, with my sound, to get those lyrics across better, almost, in a different way. And that's exactly how I felt with "Help Me." It was like, I listened to the song quite a few times, and then I read the lyrics on their own. I think she had them in the bottom of her YouTube description. And I was like, this is like a dark song. And so I could totally turn that into like this cool, heavy, dark song. And that's what I wanted to do.
How do you even start collaborating with other musicians? Who contacts who, and how does the process even work until the end result?
Well, honestly, usually it's just you make friends with them and you kind of connect on similar levels with right now with nerdcore, you know, and or video games or anime or something. You connect on that. You make friends with them, and then usually they reach out to you like, oh, hey, you know, your production would sound cool with this vibe. Would you want to produce this song and have my vocals on top of it or something? Or produce this idea and we can work on it that way. Or I reach out to them and say, hey, I just produced this instrumental. Would you give it a listen and see if you'd want to sing over it? Or something like that.
It's also so casual. I keep getting surprised by how little paperwork is involved in this kind of stuff, because the end result is always so professional, but it starts by just saying, like, just emailing someone and saying, hey, do you want to work on this? And then it just snowballs from there into something that's, you know, very, very competent and professional, but no paperwork. It's all just just emails.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you got to remember, so I'm going to take my half-gallon thing of water here. Sorry, I'm slightly sick still. You got to remember that, yeah, it's got to be casual with making music. It's got to flow good. It can't be so business that you forget that it's fun. It's fun to make music. You got to like reach in that kid inside of you, and keep it and embrace it almost, because if not, nothing cool is going to come out, because music isn't forced. It flows, and if it doesn't flow, then it's not going to come out good.
I've seen other music producers outsource some of their mixing, at least. I see some people get, I think it's Matrix Audio or just some other company to mix audio that they have made, and I'm wondering, well, if you're not mixing it, like, what, for as an example, what are you more than everything else? What exactly could you outsource to other people while you still remain a music producer?
Oh man. So you mean by yeah, outsource. Okay. Well, so usually usually as a music producer, what's funny is there's so many different things involved in production and music production. You know, have the engineer that usually does all the mixing, then you have the music producer that does all the producing in the sense of placing the sounds, layering, like making it all the structure and all that. And then you usually have the composition. Somebody writes the song. The producer doesn't always do that. So somebody composes it. And then you have, you know, a lyricist as well that comes on top of that. And then once the producer gets all that stuff structured into a song where it's all placed correctly, the engineer usually comes in and mixes it so it all sounds good and level. And then they send it out to a mastering engineer that also masters it so it's at the right level, but not distorted or crushed per se, compressed, and that it's up to industry standard. So there's all these different really roles that the music industry has created that are really important. But they've made it seem like you can't do all of that on your own. And that's what kind of ticks me off from the music industry in that sense, making it seem impossible for anybody to do this. But it's possible. It's so possible. I'm not perfect at it. I can definitely get better, but I've gotten to a point where it's like, yeah, it still sounds good. And Charlie, same thing, you know, he does all of the mixing and mastering on his own. And so does, I think, Fable and Divide Music. And I want to say Daddy Fast Snaps as well. So they all do it within their community. Sometimes they outsource the mastering portion, but the rest of it they do themselves.
Yeah, it's so often I see a song on one person's YouTube channel, and then in the description it's like, well, the mixing was done by this, the singing was done by this, and I'm like, well, then what did you do then? Why is it on your channel specifically? Who decides where the song eventually gets published? Yeah. Is it just the person who came up with the idea?
Yes. So usually, for example, I See a Dreamer with Charlie. That was a 2-day thing. He had somebody compose that, the verses, I think the bridge, and then the chorus. And then he compiled it, switched things up to make it sound like him, like he would have written if he was to have composed it. Because really, if you think about it, everybody has their opinions of music, of what they like. So if a music producer sticks with that and everything they do, samples, sounds, whatever, synths, their sound is always going to come across whatever they use, because they're going to switch it up to what they like to hear. And that's what you got to stick with. You can't do like, oh, will the audience like this? Like, no, say you're doing something that's trendy on YouTube. That's what me and Charlie and the rest nerdcore community does. What does the audience want? But then with the music, it's like, hey, but I want this sound to come across, and you got to hone in on that.
I've been wondering about that, because I see people making songs about video games, for example, and I question whether they even really care. For example, Poppy's Playtime. I hate that game, not because of what the game is, but because of how people have responded to it. Nothing's happened yet there's so much fan art and fan songs about it. What's even worse is something like Bendy and the Dark, Bendy and the Dark Revival, which doesn't exist yet, and people are already making songs about it. So when you are deciding to make a song about a game, how much of it is you're making a song to hit a certain trending audience at the time, and how much of it is you played the game and you liked it, and for yourself you want to make a song about it? What's the balance?
Oh man, that's tough. Because with it being a full-time career, it's like, hey, you got to do what's popular, what's trendy, but also do what you want to do. For example, Poppy Playtime, for some reason, and my fiance, I've kind of scared her with this. I enjoy, I don't know, I love horror vibes for some reason. I love psychotic. I don't know if you've seen Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.
The first one, yeah.
So it's just very cool. Hans Zimmer, the soundtrack, so cool. It's so chaotic and psychotic, and it gets that vibe across so well. And I love that chaotic vibe. And Poppy Playtime is very horror driven, but also I love the contrast of happy, fun area with a horror, scary monster roaming around. And so, I was like, I'm totally down to make a song for this. And so I tried to hone in on more of the story per se of what they were trying to get across. And what's his name? Matt Pat came out with a video to kind of, to kind of dive way deeper into the lore than he probably should have. But it was so cool and interesting. And that helped to write a song about. That was enough to write a song for.
Yeah, those kinds of games have just exploded over the last 6, 7, 8 years. You've got Tattletale, Bendy, Hello Neighbor, Five Nights at Freddy's, all these games that are cute concepts that have been corrupted into some sort of horror thing. Why do you think there's just been such an explosion of that kind of specific kind of game?
No, I want to say because there haven't been many games like that. But I also know people really enjoy And I do as well. I find myself doing the same thing, supporting indie developers that make good games, decent games. Because I I hate AAA companies that just milk their money, you know, and they kind of milk your money and rip you off with things. So it's nice to see indie developers making games that they're proud of, and you can feel the emotion in those games being poured into their development. But yeah, I think, you know, I'm trying to think of like horror movies or, yeah, for example, you know, horror. Let's you know, Corey X Kenshin, for example, he got really popular off of I want to say it was FNAF and Markiplier and Daco and all these like childhood things, you know, Chuck E. Cheese, for example, that they have their animatronics, and that's kind of where the idea came from. And but what if it was like evil? I don't know. It's just very intriguing. Like, what if that reality existed?
Yeah, you hit upon just such a true thing when you were highlighting the popularity of indie game makers nowadays. And I think you're a perfect example of a musical person who started this thing sort of single-handedly. You didn't need to hire a studio or hire a band. You've got everything that you need right there because we have the technology to do all this stuff on our own. So what would you recommend to someone who wants to do what you do? Where should they start? What door should they use?
Don't think you have to have your own, you know, rent out a crazy studio to do what you want to do. You don't have to. I love Billie Eilish for that reason. Her and her brother produced everything in their albums from their bedroom studio, and it turned out awesome. And it turned out, you know, one of the best-selling albums out there for a while. And so it just proved to the whole world, like, you don't have to have what the music industry is telling you do with a studio and a label and things like that. Labels help. They definitely help with marketing, but you don't have to have that. There are other avenues. So if you want to start in the music industry, my ideal suggestion would be first learn what you love, you know, produce stuff that you love to produce, and then build off that. There's somebody I was working with, or that reached out to me for some instrumentals they made that were awesome, actually really good. I was very impressed. And he's like, I don't know what to do with this, but I love making music. I'm like, okay, cool. You already know what you love making. This is the sound you have. So now try and find something that maybe is trending that you would still enjoy, and put some lyrics or vocals on top of that to get your name out so people can discover you. Because it's so hard. It's so hard to get in the music industry just by making original content, because nobody has anything to search up to actually find you if they wanted to discover you. But if you're doing stuff that's trending, that has some sort of trend, whether it's small or big, you know, hopefully there's a happy medium there. They'll be able to discover you slowly but surely, or quickly. Who knows?
When you were first starting out in 2018, 2019, you had several thousand subscribers, which is pretty good. But now you have over 100,000, which isn't very surprising because online you've got a library that people can go back to, so it's all cumulative. But what do you think were the key moments over those 3-4 years that got you from 3,000, 4,000 to over 100,000? What's the secret?
You know, I feel like what really helped was being involved with my community, making them feel like I loved their support, and not making them feel like that, but make them know like I really do appreciate them, and not being fake, but being genuine and sincere with them. in, this, we have a DHeusta Discord server, my Twitter as well, and Instagram, and things that I can put out to say, hey, thank you guys so much for what you're doing. And I think that gives them kind of like the reward of, oh yeah, like I'm doing a good job and I'm helping out somebody that I enjoy listening to as well. And making those, I think, consistent uploads, I think they were every 2 or 3 weeks I would upload a song, really helped as well, to know that came across to my fans like, oh, he's putting forth effort into making songs for us that we want to hear. And that was really helpful.
Yeah,
I kind of went the deep end a little bit and stopped producing for a while, but it's because of this album. That was the reason.
We will get to that album very soon, but one little question before that. Your community is so large that you were able to have an actual physical tour in 2021. So as a digital artist who makes digital work for a digital audience, how did it feel to finally be live in front of living people?
It was so cool. It was honestly crazy to be on stage. I never thought that I'd have the opportunity to do that. But it was so almost humbling to be on stage and just to even DJ and beatbox was so cool. It was such a privilege to be like, wow, I've there are people out here who listen to my music, whether it's many or a few, 2 or 3 out of, the 400 or 500, 600 that were there. It's just so humbling to know, like, the music that I write touches people's hearts, whether it's for entertainment or whether just to get through some things, it touches them in some way. So yeah, very humbling.
So your new album, and the fact that you are making this album, that is the thing that qualifies you to be on this right now, because this is the thing that is the story of, well, the story of you. So please tell us, this new album, what is this new album? What is the story of this new album?
Oh man, okay, we're diving deep. Because first of all, this album, and I've said it before, it's the most raw, genuine thing I've put out ever, that I will be putting out. Because it's a dive into my life, what I was going through, and goes through the process of what I went through. And it's raw, it's very genuine. There are moments where you hear me angry. My recent release today is this frustrated, angry song called Let Go, and that just dives deep into my mind of trying to let go of these hard feelings, or of these thoughts that were difficult to process, and things. And my other one that I just released, the first single from the album, is called I Don't Know, and it explains a time where I was talking. People would ask me all the time, what are you doing, what's going on, how are you feeling? And I'd say, I don't know, my heart is so numb that I can't feel it, so I don't know. and I wrote a song about that. But it's all very sequential, this album. Sorry, I'll go back to the album's purpose. What it's about is me. It starts off in the beginning. The album's called Process and Let Go. It starts off in the first song, me, present day, talking to myself, realizing, I have this almost muse of me, that I kind of discovered from these incredibly difficult challenges that I went through the past few years, past few years. and this muse telling me like, hey, you got to go through this. You haven't fully processed your feelings, and you got to go back through these core memories that you didn't process fully. And then me present day saying, no, no, no. And this first song goes through so many different genres because of the back and forth that's going on. And then finally, this muse of me brings me back, kind of throws me into the first core memory. And that was when me proposing to my ex now, to marry her at the time, in this restaurant. And then the second song is about, me proposing, and that song I wrote for her, which I actually did write, didn't have it fully finished at the time, but did finish it later on. And then, a few songs after that is about, the song right after that is about how she calls and I go over and say, hey, it's okay. She's crying. I drive over there. She hands me the ring, says it's done, it's over. And I'm like in shock, trying to talk, but realizing, I didn't say anything, as she leaves out the door of the car and walks off. And I'm like in such shock. And then it goes through from that, all these different emotions of sadness and then anger. And it's really just an emotional roller coaster. If you've ever been on a roller coaster, it is up and down. And this album is up and down because that's exactly what I went through.
It sounds like a musical journal.
Yes, almost like a journal, a diary. Yes, of really, that's why I wrote this album, was to kind of let these feelings out, and let them go. And I could not let these feelings go for so long. And it was really hard. It was like, what can I do to get this stuff out? So I just started writing music, and all these songs are what came across. But what's interesting is halfway through this album, you'll notice, almost halfway through, a song called Left a Legacy that is very different. It's about my grandma, because she passed away about a couple months after my past engagement got broken off. And that was kind of like a stop in my process, of fully processing my feelings. Because it was like, holy cow, who I thought was going to be the love of my life isn't. So my heart was broken there. And then my grandma passes away, and then my heart's broken again. And it's like, holy crap, how do I process all this? So then I dive back down again after that time, with a few songs that just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And finally it comes back up like, no, it's okay. And then the very end of the album, the last song is called letting you go, I think, or no, letting go, sorry. And it pulls, this muse of me pulls me back out into the present day. And I finally am like, okay, I've processed this, and it's okay to let go. It's okay that I felt pain. It's okay that I had all these different difficult times, but I've gone through it like I should. I felt it all, and now I can let go.
It's clear that working on making this album has been therapeutic for you, but when you make it public, when you know that other people can hear it, not even you can see how they're responding, but the fact that you know that it's out there in the world, has that added to the therapeuticness of it being made?
It's added to the stress.
Great.
It's very stressful, because it's like, yeah, it's almost like you're releasing, it's as if you released your journal to the world. And that can be scary, because it's like, not everybody's going to love this album or accept it. they might even hate on it. Who knows? I'm accepting that. I know that'll happen. But I also know the potential it has to touch so many people's lives, because who knows what they're going through. That's the whole world we're talking about, and they might need. And then that's the whole purpose of the album is, it was therapeutic for me, but who knows how therapeutic that is for somebody else to be able to also process what they're going through, reflect on what they're going through, and then be able to let go.
Yeah, during your 100,000 subscriber stream, you said, a quote, I'll just say it right now, "The impact my music has made brings me so much joy and excitement that I just want to keep making more. It's so great. It's so awesome to see that my music has made a difference in somebody's life." Now, you've already sort of alluded to this, but what I want to specifically ask is not what do you hope the impact is on people? What do you think your music is? How do you know that your music is impacting people?
Oh man. Well, there are actually I'm hoping some who have sent me these messages are watching now. But there are quite a few that have sent me very like genuine messages, very sincere messages that I've saved to my phone actually in my notes to remind me that my music has made an impact, even just the entertaining music I've made. They've written me things that, they've said that, "Oh, I'm going through such a tough time, but this and this and this have helped me so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And that's helped me to realize even just my electronic entertaining music has helped people. So then my hope is with this album, it is very different. It's very acoustic / electronic / Queen / poppy vibe. It's all over the place, because that's what I felt for the past few years. I know that this album then is going to touch people's lives, and because of all the emotion that was put in it, like it's bound to touch at least one person. If my other music has already done that.
I was able to listen to "I Don't Know," the first song of the album, and a lyric from there really stuck out to me, and I will say it right now. I'm not going to sing it. I'll do like a beat poetry version. Okay, here it goes. "I'm guessing I'm pushing away somewhat." I'll say it again. "I guess I'm pushing away someone to love forever because I step further away, never knowing the pain I've befriended." What is this pain that you've befriended?
So during these years, these past few years, I seem to have, it seemed to me like I made a friend with pain. My heart was so broken that I like gave in to feeling numb, but in a way was still feeling pain, although I felt nothing. And that was almost the pain, was not feeling anything. And so and because of that, I felt like I would never want to love anybody again because of how badly I was hurt, and all the trust issues that came with that. But what's so, and I can't wait to make a part 2 of this album. What's so cool is my now fiance, she also went through a very similar experience with her engagement breaking off, when she was about to get married, as I was. And we connected so much on that. And she's been so like, we've like grown together in our pain almost, and built each other up where it's like we're okay now. And it's so cool. So cool.
Your current fiance, you got engaged again this quickly, man. What's the secret to finding someone to someone that fast?
So I would say, honestly, it was for both of us. It was kind of a shock. Um, Talking to her now, she was at a point where she was like, okay, whether I get married or not, I'm just going to move forward with my life. I have committed to doing what I want to do, living the single life for now, and being happy with that. And I did the same thing at that point. I think, yeah, a couple months before I met her, I had found my house. I had found the car I want. I had gotten in a good spot where I'm like, hey, I'm not going to let my past stop me from moving forward with what I want to do. You know, although I would have loved for her to, my ex, to be a part of all that, I don't have to stop that from doing what I want to do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to move forward. And I did. And we were both in that spot. And I think that's what like attracted us towards each other, to find each other almost. So that's honestly what I would recommend to anybody who wants to get married or find somebody that they love. It's like, don't, because you haven't found them yet, don't let that stop you from moving forward with what you want to do in your life. Wherever she is or wherever that companion is, they'll come where you're wanting to go. Almost.
That's pretty beautiful. And now it's time for all the random questions that I wasn't able to categorize. I'm just going to like spit random stuff at you. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Glitch hop. What is glitch hop?
So I I need to change that. Because that's what I used to produce, and now it's very different from that. But like Time to Climb, and those first songs, the first like year of stuff I put out was all like glitch hop. And that is it's a genre of very bouncy glitch electronic vibes songs. And it just makes your head like, yeah, it just gets you bouncing. And I used to love, and I still do, I love that kind of stuff. But I've kind of branched away from that quite a bit.
You're no longer a glitch hop artist? I called you a glitch hoppist. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. I made a mistake.
Oh no,
I was stuck in the past.
Yeah. That was the old DHeusta, I guess. We're branching into the new DHeusta, but yeah, that's what I started doing.
The new DHeusta that starts his first song with a little acoustic guitar, and I was very surprised when that showed up. But then it got all sort of like techno-y, and I was like, there we go, back to classic DHeusta. Okay. So you can beatbox, you sing, you make music, but you're also a religious person. So I was thinking to myself, okay, is this guy the kind of guy who would go to like a community center, sit in like a circle of chairs with a bunch of kids, flip the chair backwards and like talk about Jesus? Are you that kind of guy?
Oh yes, absolutely. If I can talk about Jesus at any point, I would. He has blessed my life so much, more than I even realize. But what I do realize, he has blessed my life a lot.
He was a bit of a rebel, didn't play by the rules.
Me?
Never mind. Just making. I'm joking about Jesus, which I'm sure you really appreciate.
Oh.
Next question. Beatboxing. I know nothing about beatboxing. I just think it's someone saying baboons and cats over and over again, and I see that sometimes in what people are saying. But then I hear you beatbox, and you do this like grindy, guttural, sort of throaty thing going. Like how do you beatbox? That's the question. How do you do it? Like physiologically, how do you do it?
You make sounds with your mouth and your vocal cords, actually. So that boomy, they call it the throat bass. I don't know if I can do it while I'm sick, but we'll try it. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that. I don't know how you do that.
Noise, it's like it's a vibration of your vocal cords vibrating so much that it's creates that low tone. And then the snare, that thing is just the clap of your tongue off the roof of your mouth. And the bass, the kick, that's just your lips coming together right there, and so many other things. But it's a lot of the tongue and lips with the throat combined into all these cool combos.
Well, I can't beatbox, but I can do this.
Oh Question. Yeah, there we go. That's some vocal percussion.
Perfect. I'll start my own YouTube channel. I'm not a glitch. I'm not glitch hop. I'm a cheek slapper. That's me. Next question.
Yes.
We know what's happening next with your album, but after the album is done, what's going to happen next after that? What can we expect next from DHeusta?
So my vision, I have actually projects to release right here in the corner that you can't see. But some of those projects, I don't know, I've been wanting to involve myself more in this direction of hybrid orchestral arrangements, kind of like NF. My most recent song reflects that, called Let Go. And I want to move forward more with that. I feel like, although I love singing, I feel like my voice fits a lot better, and I feel a lot more comfortable rapping, which is so funny. I don't know why that is, and the lyrics seem to come a lot quicker when I write lyrics for rap. And so I want to move forward somehow with that. And I know FNAF and those indie kind of vibes that vibe doesn't fit very well with that. So I have to be careful. So my vision has been, okay, I'm going to make, my most recent one is the Backroom song. I'm going to make still songs about ideas or things that are trending on YouTube that are maybe horror related. But I also want to go into like the Minecraft YouTube side of things. And because Dream, and I know he has a bad rep sometimes because of his fans, and sometimes because of him as well. But Dream has such a cool, if you watch all his stuff, the majority of his videos all have this cool orchestral arrangement in the background, epic orchestral stuff. And that's my rap. Those are my raps. And so I'm like, dude, that would be so cool to still, make those kind of songs, but relate them to Dream and that community, and see where that goes. Because that would satisfy my craving to make those kind of songs.
And on that note, that brings me to the last question that I always ask at the end of these things, which is, why are stories important?
I want to say because they inspire. Whether that's to inspire someone to be like them, or to inspire them to be better than they are, to learn from their experiences, whatever story they're listening to, or to learn from the storyteller's experiences. Because, we go through life, and I think when we don't listen to stories of other people's lives and their experiences and things, we tend to, as humans, repeat cycles. And we tend to make the same mistakes when we're not aware of that. And so if we don't listen to other people's stories and learn from their mistakes, then we're not going to improve as a society, and get better like we should. And so when and so if we're listening to other people's stories, it like inspires you to want to be better, to improve, to grow, and to also be like, oh, I can do hard things. They did a hard thing. I can do that too. It can be a positive upliftment and inspiration rather than a negative. And so, I think stories are very, very more important than we may realize as a society. And I feel like as a society, we also tend to want to say more than listen. And so then we don't listen to these stories that want to be told or that are being told. And so then they don't ever make an impact.
All right. And on that note, Mr. Heusta, thank you so much for coming on to One Story Building.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's been a cool experience for me.